today I'm not talking so much about oxygen. I'm talking about carbon dioxide, the greenhouse gas, the reason for global warming and climate change. Here's the thing, when I started making this series on breathing with trees and plants, the leaves were just starting to change color. Now they're all gone. I'm talking today about the wisdom of nature because it is actually such a great advantage to us that the leaves fall in the autumn. So let me explain why. Now, you probably know that the trees breathe in what we breathe out. The trees during the summertime, not in the winter because obviously they don't even have any leaves, but during the summertime in the daylight, due to photosynthesis, the leaves are breathing in carbon dioxide, which is what we exhale. The thing is, if the trees kept their leaves on all year round, it would mean that they would breathe in less carbon dioxide. Less carbon dioxide. That's because they only breathe in carbon dioxide during daylight hours. And as you know, in the summertime, the days are way longer. So during the summertime, the trees are breathing in lots and lots of carbon dioxide and converting it to oxygen, which really helps us out as far as greenhouse gases, climate change, and global warming goes. However, at nighttime, when they're not in daylight, the trees are not breathing in carbon dioxide and breathing out oxygen. They are breathing in oxygen, which is what we need, and breathing out carbon dioxide, which is what we don't need. But these clever trees and wonderful nature has made this wonderful system that during the winter, when the leaves would have been, if the leaves were still on the trees, they would now be breathing out way more carbon dioxide than they breathe in carbon dioxide. But instead, they drop their leaves. So during the winter time, when the nights are really, really long and it's so much darker in a 24-hour period, that is when those trees don't have leaves and therefore they are not making carbon dioxide. And I say, yay! We are so fortunate that the trees are that smart, or Mother Nature is that smart, or the system was set up thousands of years ago to be that smart. Now, interestingly enough, behind me are what used to be my beautiful okra plants. The plants that have those beautiful flowers and that produce such a wonderful crop of okra for us that we would eat at so many of our meals throughout the summer. But it's getting cold now. And in fact, I suspect that tonight is going to be our first frost. So far, there has not been a frost. Now, the big mystery for me has been, why did these wonderful plants lose their leaves? Like I said, they have not been frozen. Plus, we have had many days that were quite warm in the 70s, which would be Celsius around, 18 and 20. Normally, those are really nice days. Now, we've had some cold spells, but we've also had warm spells. But there has not been a day or night where we've had frost. Now, I thought that plants lost their leaves because they got frozen in a frost. And maybe I had that belief because I grew up in Canada. And for us, for sure, all of our garden plants would get killed by frost. However, here, like I said, I'm in Virginia now, and we haven't had a frost, yet these okra plants, which used to have just magnificent, huge green leaves on them, have dropped all their leaves. And I thought maybe they weren't being nourished enough, so I started putting fertilizer on them it's like mid-November now, and I started putting the fertilizer on in, I think it was September or maybe the beginning of October, when I could see that for some strange reason the plants were dropping their leaves, the okra plants. Now the only thing I can think is that they are like the deciduous trees around me who have I think of them as, well, they are living beings who have dropped their leaves. And like I said, I grew up thinking that the reason trees dropped their leaves was because it was freezing cold, but it turns out, or I have to admit, it has to be something else. And I suspect that what it is that as we're going into winter, we are going into longer and longer nights and shorter days. In fact, we're having the sunset right now, and it's not even 5 o'clock yet. So I can only conclude that these okra can't live unless they have a certain amount of light in every 24-hour period. And that's why they've lost all their leaves. So this has got me thinking. So this has been quite a revelation for me that plants are that sensitive to daylight. I'm Caroline Chapman, if you haven't met me before, and I'm a speaker and the author of When We Were Gods, which is a chronicle of my memories of my experiences in Atlantis. And while I was writing the book, I had this visit from an otherworldly being, a channeling experience from Pan, who is a lord of the wild, and basically has a lot to do with the wilderness and the trees and the plants that grow and this wonderful system that is set up with Mother Earth. He said the nature kingdom was really distressed, and he wanted man to appreciate nature more. Okay, I can understand that. He also wanted a chapter in the book, so I gave him a chapter in the book. Now, I had the most amazing garden. My peppers were as big as squashes. My sunflowers were so tall that the newspaper came and took a picture of me with one of my sunflowers. And what I learned from that, I think there's more to it, more to appreciating nature. I think that nature is sort of depressed. I feel that nature is having a lot of problems, just as we are with climate change. And that by showing our appreciation for nature, by being grateful for what it does for us, by you listening to this video, you are showing your appreciation for nature. That nature can do more than it does already. If it could make my garden so spectacular that year, it can probably breathe in more carbon dioxide and release more oxygen. And of course, it's a good idea if we plant more trees and if we honor the trees we have and all of the green plants. What do you think? I'm pretty excited. I mean, when that happened to me in my garden, I was like, whoa, this really is amazing. Well, Here's some more videos that you might enjoy that I've made about nature and also about interpreting dreams. It's been great talking with you, Carol Ann Chapman. Love your trees.